Good morning, CLC. I invite everybody in this moment to just take a nice deep breath. Breathing in cool, calming air and breathing out all that no longer serves you. And if you feel so inclined, take another nice big breath. And as you breathe out, release all stress, anxiety, tension that you may be holding in your body. Allow yourself in this moment to just relax your body. And allow your mind to be here, now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin this inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge.
I acknowledge.
Acknowledging this higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of this infinite presence, I simply speak these words. I surrender.
I surrender.
Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive.
I forgive.
Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose.
I choose.
I now center upon that one special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. In visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words, I accept.
I accept.
Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace and fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release.
I release.
Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in the room with me this morning. I turn toward that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life.
I'm grateful for the good in your life.
Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in the room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in confidence and gratitude and saying, I'm grateful for the good in your life.
Today is week 2 in a series on looking somewhere, what we see, what we look for. Look to the Spirit is what Emma Curtis Hopkins said. She said a lot of things, but that was one of her little nuggets of wisdom that caught my attention. Look to the Spirit. It's similar to what Emmett Fox said about if you have a problem of any kind, think about God. If you have a problem with money, if you have a problem with friendship, if you have a problem with your health, if your car has a flat tire, think about God. Think about God, and somehow an answer will come to you, because what you're doing is identifying yourself with the singularity of creation, the unity of all life. You're saying, I am the experience. This is the way I put it. I don't think it's original to me, but I like putting it this way. I am the experience that God is having in this world at this time by means of me. You, on the other hand, are the experience. you, on the other hand, are the experience that God is having in this world at this time by means of you. The person driving down the street outside is, you get the picture. Everybody's the experience, and all of these experiences are essential, and all of them are fundamentally equal, and yet all of them are fundamentally distinct. They're distinct. They're not different. They're distinct. We have distinct experiences of life in our own way. If you don't care for the term God, feel free, by all means, to substitute a different term. What I would ask is that it mean to you, that it call up for you a sense of oneness and a sense of power. A sense of power. Because if there is a God, it's pretty powerful. You know, if this whole thing didn't just fall into place by accident, if there's some kind of mind back of it all, it's pretty powerful. It's pretty wise. It thought up things like planets, you know, which are completely outside my wheelhouse and probably yours too. It thought up trees and clouds and rocks and rivers. And this is not self-designed, you know. So it's a pretty amazing thing, whatever this thing is. What I'd encourage you not to put on it is a sense of distance, a sense of judgment, a sense of condemnation, or even a sense of religion, frankly. Because then what had been distinct starts to get different. It's like they say, it gets real and then it gets different and then it gets real different. Well, it starts to get different. And now there's a comparison and an evaluation, and pretty soon we're not talking about God anymore, we're talking about ego. We're talking about human ego pumped up to sort of a cosmic size, ballooned out to a cosmic size. So this one is what we are looking to, and it's what we're looking through, and it's what we're looking with, as well as what we're looking at. Try that on for size. You are spirit regarding itself. And what you are regarding is spirit or God nature. The process by which you're regarding it is spirit or God nature. Even the judgments that you make about it and the evaluations and the comparisons are spirit or God nature. They're not final. They're not absolute. They're not cosmic, but they're real. and they're yours in the moment. By which I mean, all of life as we experience it is subjective. It's subjective. We try to pretend it's objective. We say it's a nice day outside today, right? And it kind of is when you compare today to the days we've had over the last couple of months. It's about 20 degrees cooler. There's even a little breeze. This is a very breezy property that we sit on here. You may have noticed at Creative Life. I get my hair all brushed, you know, and I pull up in the car and I get, all of a sudden I'm Bozo the Clown, you know. And so it's a nice day outside. Everybody would agree, unless they don't. Unless somebody's having a really hard time today. And then the weather is completely irrelevant. Then everybody else's experience kind of fades into the mist, you know, because of behind their pain. So today is a day of remembrance. And I wanted to take the series in the direction of we look within, and we look back, and then we look forward, and then we look around. Or maybe we look forward. I haven't decided yet if we're going to look around before we look forward. We may look forward before we look around. But anyway, that's to come. But that's in the future. That's in the future. Today we're in the present, and we're regarding the past. Why are we regarding the past? Well, when I set the series up, I realized that today was September the 11th. And so there's a poignancy and there's a connection to what has gone on in the culture in the last 21 years. And what I didn't anticipate was that there would be another big shock this week in the sense of a loss of continuity. And so I want to address that a little bit from the standpoint of where do we take this stuff in consciousness, okay? So I don't want to presume. I've had a couple of large classes this week with people, and everybody weighed in with their feelings about things, not so much on 9/11, but on Queen Elizabeth's passing. People weighed in with their feelings. And some people were feeling really sad, and some people were feeling kind of angry. And some people were feeling kind of nothing at all, and they were sort of like, the sad and angry people were sort of different to them. Everybody gets to feel their own thing. There's no one right way to feel, ever, ever. The only wrong way to feel is that you can't feel what you feel. Does that make sense? The only wrong way to feel is that your feelings have no merit, and you need to sublimate them in the face of what everybody else is feeling. And so if everyone else is standing around sad, then you ought to be sad too. Or it's a beautiful day, so you should cheer up. That's unfair to you. It's also unfair to everybody else, but that's another story. But it's unfair to you. You should feel what you feel. There's no one right way to feel. So I'm going to tell you how I feel a little bit, which is kind of, there's a continuity that's gone out of the world. I am not a British subject. I don't have a queen. I didn't have a queen. I don't know. You know, but every now and then she'd come to the microphone and she'd say stuff. And there'd be trouble in the world, including 9/11, as a matter of fact. Or COVID, you know, and she'd come out and she'd give a little statement. She'd give Christmas statements and anniversary statements of her reign and stuff, and it was sweet, and it was kind of nice. And she was doing this before I was born, and I'm not all that young, so it's like she was really at this a long time, and dutiful. And and I loved her work ethic, because whether she felt like it or not, she showed up. Unless she was in hospital, and that's how they say it over there. They leave out the article. It's in the conjunction in hospital. Unless, you know, if she possibly physically could, she was there doing what needed to be done. And I saw pictures of her, and she'd be at the racetrack, or she'd be at some military base or some parade, you know. And this went on and on and on and on. And then, you know, you realize, well, she's 96 years old, and how much longer is this going to go? But you kind of tell yourself it could go forever. And then one day it doesn't. And so there's kind of a hole that opens up under you. You know what I mean? There's like a trap door in the floor there. It's like, what do we do? And now what's going to happen? And now what's going to happen? So this is where some people are today in the world this weekend, and will be at least for the next week. And then I got to thinking about how there are children being born today who'll have no idea who this woman was. You know, there are little kids today who have no idea who this woman was, is or was, you know, up to whatever age a child might be when they first become aware of things going on in other countries in their leadership, you know? But certainly, in the passage of a few years, she's going to mean as much to the young as, you know, Pepin the Short. I mean, because time will have moved on. And so you and I who remember her, and who remember being here, and who remember being here in the week when she left the world, will be the ones who'll tell the stories. And we'll tell the stories principally to a group of very bored and disaffected people who'll be like, whatever, and no, she was all this and she was all that, and it'll be like, whatever. And that's good, that's natural, that's how it works. You've got to be interested in history. You've got to be interested in Pepin the Short or Ethelred or somebody, you know, to look them up, and find some relevance in their life and some connection between your experience and theirs. So there's no one right way to feel, and yet we are ships borne ceaselessly back into the past. That comes from the great Gatsby. It's familiar to you. We are like ships beating against the tide, borne ceaselessly back into the past. We are going to think about the past whether we want to or not. You have a past. I have a past. Usually when we say that, it sounds kind of naughty, but we have something happen before we were here. And we have an experience of it. We have a sensation of it that we carry into this present moment. How do we know that? Every incoming experience is evaluated in the context of the past experience. I'm going to expect today to be pretty much like yesterday was, unless given a lot of evidence why it should be different. I'm going to expect the next person to walk into my life to be more or less like the last person who walked into my life. I'm going to expect a continuity. I'm also going to expect a slightly evolving continuity, in that I will know more in the next moment than I did in the previous moment. But I'm going to sit here and I'm going to think about the past, and the past is going to come up, and it's going to come up unbidden. You know, they say grief comes in waves. All of the past comes in waves. It's not just the grieving part. It's the joy, too. You're sitting there, and all of a sudden it comes over you, that summer when you know, that time when that song, that music is highly evocative of this. Art is too, but music we carry around with us more easily than art. So it's constantly reminding us of something, and sensations are swirling around, and that's a beautiful and wonderful thing. And here's the paradox of it, is that you can manage this. You can manage this. You don't want to turn it off, you don't want to stifle it, but you can manage it. If you didn't manage it, you'd be weeping in the middle of doing something else. You'd have to pull it together, but it'd be difficult because you'd be overwhelmed by things. So you manage your feelings. You take time for this. I watched now King Charles III. That's not a name I ever thought I'd utter. It never occurred to me he'd be Charles III, but of course he would. There was first and second, so, you know, if he took that name. Well, King Charles III, he gave a speech the other day, you know. And this guy lost his mother. I mean, whatever anybody else feels in the world about it, this man lost his mother. And he loved her very much. And she loved him. And that's sad, you know. But he got up and he gave a real direct kind of speech about what sort of king he plans to be and all. And he put his grief aside. And one term for that is professionalism, you know. He put his grief aside. But you know what he didn't do is put it away. He didn't put his grief away. I promise you, as soon as he got out from behind that microphone and went to some private space, he clouded back up because his mother's gone. So we manage our feelings in a certain way. We rise to the occasion. Then we feel them when the time is right, when the space is safe. When the space is safe. We create a safe space for us for ourselves to feel what there is to feel. And in so doing, we create a context in which the past is held like the present and the future in a subjective way. See, here's another way of looking at it, is that whatever experience you're having right now, you're having through your own thoughts and feelings. You're sitting in a room, or you're watching people sitting in a room, you're watching me standing in front of people sitting in a room, and you're having this experience wherever you are that's being somewhat managed. Because someone who is not you has made some decisions about what's going to happen here this morning, right? We're going to sing this song and hear this talk and then do this. And so there's a script that was sort of created. But how you're feeling about that while you're watching all of this is subjective to you. You're sitting in this moment and you're having this feeling, you see. You're listening to what's going on. You're listening attentively to what's going on. You're listening like a bat. You're listening like a bat with the ears to what's going on, you know. Or you're not. Or you're thinking about the Texans game at noon or something, and you're drifting off into, you know. Well, that's your subjective reality. And when I bring up things from the past, you may kind of go there. And if I could see you better out from under these lights, I might see your eyes get kind of misty or dim, or kind of you're looking into the middle distance, you know, as you're thinking back over. Like when I said that summer of such and such, when that song was on the radio, yeah, you're kind of off there, and then you kind of pull yourself back to here. My point is that this is where we live all the time. We walk into situations that appear to be scripted for us by somebody else. You know, the bus comes when the bus comes. You go to the job that at the company that wasn't founded by you, that makes the products that you didn't design to do the particular thing they've asked you to do, but a whole lot of it is set up beforehand. You do this wearing a body you didn't create, walking across the face of an earth you didn't make. But your experience of everything is subjective. Your experience of now, you're having an experience. If you're having an experience of the past, you're having an experience of the past in the present. How weird is that? And if you're thinking about the future, you're having an experience of the future in the present. Which is why metaphysical systems relentlessly say, it's only now. It's only here. It's only this time. It's only this time. And when it's tomorrow, it'll be this time tomorrow. You see. It won't be the future. It'll be the now. But you can sit in the now and envision the future and feel certain ways now as though you were in that future. You can think of a pleasing scenario or a terrifying scenario and have your body respond as though it were so. You can think back on the past so completely that your feelings arise around what you're thinking about, and now it's as though you were there, but you're not, you're here. But your consciousness is there. So let's split the difference. Which is true? That you're here or that you're there? Where consciousness is where you have nested for a moment. Well, if you can be there in the past because your feelings are all swept up around the past, then I ask you, is it the past? And if it's not the past, and if you can do the same thing vis-a-vis the future, is it the future? Well, if it's not the future, then all time is now. Then you can change the future now, and you can even change the past. See, most people will tell you, yeah, I can change the future. I'll change it when I get there. I'll make plans today to change the future when I get there so that, you know, I'm ready, right? Okay? But most people will say, you can't change the past. The past is over, done with. You got to just deal with it. You got to forgive it or thank it or do whatever you do with it, but it's done. It's in a suitcase someplace. You know, it's packed up and put away. I don't think so. The past is alive in each of us today based on our own experience. Not all of it, because we didn't experience all of it. But the stuff that we did experience is still in us, still informing us, and we have a certain set of feelings around it, and we can change those feelings if we choose to. Many of them don't require changing. They're just kind of sweet or poignant or sad or beautiful things that we look at, you know. But the feelings that we wish to change can be changed, and those feelings that we wish to change principally are the ones about our self-definition. The ones about our self-definition. See, if I had a wonderful summer or a rotten winter or a lousy Christmas or whatever I had, you know, it was what it was, and it may not require my changing my feeling about it. It's just a thing. But if what went on caused me to define myself in a limiting way, you bet I should change it. And how do I do that? I do that from the now, and I reinterpret it through what I've learned since. Have you ever had the situation come up where, for instance, let me try to make this sort of not too arcane. Have you ever had a situation come up where somebody in your life, a family member or a friend or something, behaved strangely all of a sudden and offended you in some way, hurt your feelings or betrayed you or something like this, and you were just flabbergasted, you know? And then sometime later, maybe years later, you found out some things about why. You found out a story that you had not known anything about that caused that person's behavior, that caused that person's behavior. I remember there was somebody I knew who was behaving very strangely, not here, not one of you, but I wouldn't do that, you know. I remember one time I came in and Danielle would, no, I don't, it's not what, no, somebody was behaving kind of strangely all of a sudden and like bad mood and just cranky and miserable and barking at people and all this. And I found, I didn't know them well, but I was working with them. And I found out that they were in constant, unremitting physical pain from a chronic medical condition that had not been addressed. Chronic pain. And I thought, you know, I don't have chronic pain. I don't think I've ever had chronic. I had a toothache once. That's bad enough, you know. But I've never had chronic pain. But just the acute pain that I've had from time to time, oh, I can see how you would turn into a bear if you had that. And all of a sudden, my heart was open with compassion. And it was no longer about me and the experience, my experience of them, you know. This is how you begin to change the past, as you begin to understand why people do, even if you don't have the information about why people did the things they did, you begin to understand there was a reason. That everybody, and this gets into a whole other conversation leading out of Emma Hopkins where she talks about all evil being done in the name of good, that everybody is doing what they think they have to do to get what they think they need, and sometimes we're in the way of that. And we get kind of run over by them. And it doesn't let them off the hook for responsibility to us by way of apology and amends to try to make it right, but it does help explain. So we carry within us the history of our own life, our own path, our families, and really the whole human species. It's all in there, even Pep in the Short. It's all in there someplace in us, this continuity of belief and understanding. And I remember when I was in third grade, and this will be 59 years in a couple of months. When I was in third grade. Now I have a reason for telling you this story. I try to have reasons for telling you most stories. Some stories I don't have reasons for telling. I just tell them to you. So I feel like telling them. But I was in third grade. It was a beautiful fall day. The week before Thanksgiving, and I lived up north, way up north, and it was cold, like it gets the week before Thanksgiving. And I was in school, like I said, third grade, and the end of the school day. And it was a school run by nuns. So there was a nun at the front of the room, and it was about dismissal time. And the woman who worked the desk, the receptionist in this, it was a small school in 3 brownstones that had been combined on 113th Street. The receptionist came in, which was odd, and she went up to the nun at the front of the room, which was odd, and whispered something to her, and the nun burst into tears and got down on her knees and started to pray. And we freaked out because this was not contiguous with the continuity of experience. When you're a little kid, everything that happens has been happening for a real long time. You know what I mean? Right? It's like for all of third grade, this hadn't happened, so this has never happened in the history of the world. The older you get, it's like, well, this will be over. You know, the compartmentalization changes. But what had happened was President John F. Kennedy had just been assassinated, and they had just gotten word at the desk, because in those days it took a while for the word to get around. And so school was dismissed. My grandmother came to get me, and she walked me home down Broadway like she did until about 5th grade when I walked myself. But we passed all of these, this is the part I'll never forget, part beyond what I just told you. All of these grown-ups on Broadway in New York City weeping. All of these grown-ups, stricken. Somewhere along the way there was, I think, a bar with a TV, you know, and you could see through the window, and people crammed up against the window watching Walter Cronkite talk about this kind of thing. And why I'm telling you this is that, A, it was the first time in my life that the floor had opened up under me, that what I thought was safe and contained, and I didn't know from President Kennedy, you know, I knew nothing. I mean, you're third grade. But he's there. Somebody's running the show is kind of the feeling that you have. It's like what you have about your parents, too, okay? There will be dinner. There will be laundry done, something, right? And you lean into this, and you expect this to be the case. And it was the first time in my life that everything just kind of, everybody's looking at each other like, I don't know what to do. Grown people with responsibilities and stuff had no idea where to turn or what to do. And the next time that I felt that was at 9/11. Was at 9/11. Whole different scenario. Thousands leaving the planet. Under attack. But it's like there is nobody knows what's coming. Nobody knows what to do. Why I bring this up beyond the obvious anniversary that it is that what got me through that, and what got the people at Creative Life through that at that time, 21 years ago, and got the people in New York City through it. I managed to get through on the phone to the minister of the First Church of Religious Science of New York City at that time. He has since passed on, but what got everybody through was back of it all. Leaders come and go, armies come and go, things change. Back of it all, there is one life, there is one power. It does not change. It's the only thing that doesn't change. And when other stuff changes in the interim, it points us back to that. It points us back to that. So if there's a change that you wish to make in your estimation of yourself as drawn from the past, real quick, here's how I suggest you do it. Develop a regular spiritual practice wherein you go to the source of all life and you say to it, show me who I am. And it knows nothing of your personal, particular past. It will not say, well, I remember the time you blew that opportunity, or you broke your word, or you did something stupid. It doesn't do that, because it's not an ego. That's an ego containment device I described. It only knows you as this experience that it's having of itself. And it's on that basis that it just loves you. It doesn't love you because of what you've done. It doesn't love you what you shouldn't do that you didn't do. It doesn't love you because you obeyed and were, you know, well behaved and all the rest of this. Again, that would be an ego. Your parents might love you for that, but not this one, not this one. It loves you because you are it. Because you are it at the level of you, having this experience of it through you. So if you want a refreshment, and I promised you every week words from a noted woman in New Thought. Today is Reverend Sue Sikking of the Unity movement. She was founding minister of Unity of Santa Monica, California. She went into the ministry at age 35. I met her once, a long time ago. She passed in 1992 at the age of 93. She was such an inspiration to everybody that her husband and 3 of her 5 children became Unity ministers also. Wow. Isn't that amazing? And one of those children who did not, who I think his name was, you have to look this up, and they probably are right now, but I think his name was James. It's S-I-K-K-I-N-G. One of her kids who did not become a minister became an actor, and you would know him from Hill Street Blues. He was the guy that played the military type he wore a military uniform. You remember Hill Street Blues from a long time ago? Okay. He was kind of the pompous stuffed shirt, Desert Fox kind of character on there. And I think his name was James. But anyway, this is Sue Sikking. She says, our past has been a process of unfoldment. We unfold physically and mentally from children to adults. We unfold in spiritual consciousness. We have to get to know God and rise above limitations. You are a child of God and you can restore the past. It does not matter what the past has been or what you believe about it or what you think about it. Today it is being restored as part of God unfolding in and through you. Nothing that occurred in the past can possibly separate you from God. It is never too late to be forgiven. It is never too late to be healed. It is never too late to be prospered. It is never too late to pray. It is never too late to receive your good. It is never too late to grow. You can restore the past. God is in you. God is your path. God is your power. And God can restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten. That's from the Bible. One of the Psalms, I think. Maybe Proverbs. I have to look it up. But restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten. The locust of judgment, the locust of fear. All right, let's know together now. One power, one presence, pure spirit. Everywhere just outperforming itself. It has created this amazing day for us. And whether this is a day of sadness for you or a day of joy or a day of just sort of ordinary feeling, one moment to the next, know that right where you are, in the feelings that you're having, in the experience of this moment, you're right at the center of the one power that made it all. There's nothing to need, hide from, or fear right where you are. You are beloved of the Spirit, and you're also beloved of a whole lot more people than you probably have imagined. Some of those people you've already met, but there are way more to come into your life. There are people, there are animals, there's nature generally, all surrounding you. And it is working up delightful surprises for you to serve as reminders of its presence and your presence within it. On this day, as we accept our divine inheritance, we know peace and comfort for the survivors of 9/11, survivors of among the first responders, and all who were shaken by the events of that day, who experienced psychic wounding, as well as any physical. And we surround in consciousness everyone who grieves the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. And affirm and know for each one that beneath the floor that appears to have opened, in the apparent abyss, is a solid place. And as her father, her earthly father, said to his kingdom in a radio broadcast during a very difficult time in the Blitz, in the war. I said to the man who stood at the gate of the year, give me a light that I may tread safely into the unknown. And he replied, go forth and put your hand into the hand of God, and that shall be to you a light, better than a light, and safer than a known way. So I affirm and know for all who grieve a light within, conducting them to a place of peace, acceptance, tranquility. For this knowing, for this sweet time together this morning, I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done, and so it is.
So it is.
And speaking of enjoying and giving, we now come to giving time. As our ushers make their way to the back, I want to thank each and every one of you for the gift of your presence, the gift of your love, and the gift of your monetary donations. Because you give to us from your heart, we can give back to you. So thank you so much for your gifts that you give to us. And I would like to invite you now and sing with me, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is.
Yeah, okay. And just because I'm married to a history major and my undergraduate degree is in archaeology, and he kept referencing Pepin the Short. I've never heard of Pepin the Short. Does anybody know who Pepin the Short is?
No, I do not. And I'm your age.
He's the father of Charlemagne. Now the question is, do you know who Charlemagne is?
Yes.
Charlemagne is the Holy Roman Emperor who converted Rome to Christianity. So for all of us who are, nerds, geeks, whatever word you want to use, who went, who is this king? Now, he did mention another king that I've never heard of, and that's in the chat. He was a king of England. So, yeah. And I really have no idea where I'm going to go today. Because I do have a very specific memory of 9/11. But it's a good one. So I'm going to share my good memory from 9/11 with you. Because my mom was on an airplane that day. And now she was coming from San Antonio to Florida. She was never in any danger, which we know that now. She got grounded in Atlanta, but there was a period of time, a good 3-4 hours, I didn't know where my mother was. And this is before, cell phones and texting were a real big thing. She had a BlackBerry. She was able to get a hold of somebody from her work. And this nice man, whose name I do not know, called her husband, my brother, and my husband, because fortunately he was home, to tell us where she was and that she was safe. So when days like this come around with heavy remembrances, one of the things that can be very helpful is if you have a bright memory from that day, hold tight to that. And be gentle with yourself for whatever it is. Be gentle with yourself. So I'm going to know, And I'm going to hold our siblings across the pond in this treatment as well, because that's what it is about, is being gentle with yourself as you process the emotions for whatever it is. That there is one life, there is one power, there is one love. And that is what I'm going to focus on today. There is one love. We are a part of that love. We were made by that love. We were made of that love. We were made for that love. We are the channels through which that love enters into this world and does all of the amazing things that it does. It is through each and every one of us. And so as we hold ourselves and each other, and we are gentle with ourselves and each other, and as we hold our siblings around the world in whatever it is that they are processing through today, it is with that love that we hold them. It is with that love, in that love, that we hold them. And it is in that love that we hold ourselves. Whatever it is that you are processing, whatever it is that you are going through, remember that one love. Go to that love. Ask that love who you are. Because I know the answer. The answer from that love is, you are love. You are my love. And I've called your name. And I know this with all of the gratitude in my being. I am grateful for a place that teaches this love. I am grateful for our ministers, our practitioners, our musicians. I'm grateful for the technology that we can broadcast this wherever it is that you are watching us now. And when. And I'm grateful because grateful is just another form of love. And I release this love into the world as me, as you, as any. And so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my
I
body.
feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my
I
mind.
feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I
I
am.
choose it.
I choose it.
I trust it.
I trust
I
it.
use it.
I
And
use
I
it.
love it.
And I love it.
So it is.
And so it is.
Yeah. Huzzah.